Hello and welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Louis Scott Vargas. We're heading into the second round of booster draft here on day two, and we've got a really nice matchup. Peter Ye, who we watched draft, for those of you with us live here on the stream, we got a chance to watch him draft and build his deck. We also saw Sam Black not draft his deck, but we did get to see what it looked like for his build. I've had a chance to kind of touch in with Sam there as well, and so this is going to be... Yeah, this is going to be a pretty good matchup. We've got a very long game deck in Peter's hands, and then Sam Black, on the other hand, is looking to shut the door much quicker.
And one of the interesting things about deck lists and just how game one plays out is Peter's going to be able to see that Sam's such an aggressive deck, see that he's got bounce spells and fevered visions and whatnot, and potentially side down to just straight black-green, for example. Kind of funny, I was on the side of this matchup where at the Pro Tour, I had this triple Fever Visions, very aggressive, multiple bounce spell deck. I played against Brad Nelson, beat him with Fever Visions in Game 2, and then in Game 3, he sided out his third color, sided down to straight black-green. He was black-green-white Delirium, and ended up on a much more aggressive build in the third game to play around Fever Visions.
Okay. Lower down his curve, put out more blockers. All right, and we see a pretty quick start. Village Messenger attacking, offering a trade here. No accepts, though, from Peter. He's going to... Sam's going to follow up with a Daring Sleuth before passing the turn back, and they've both gone 1-drop into 2-drop, but it looks like Peter's willing to race here. He just wants to take it to Sam.
Yeah, so it's funny that going 1 into 2 actually is really important because both players had an early werewolf. If the other player just didn't have a drop, those werewolves would have flipped.
Totally. Byway Courier is the next play for Peter.
And that was an aggressive Village Messenger attack by Sam. He could have traded or offered the trade of Village Messenger for Hinterland Logger. Instead, he was happy trading the Daring Sleuth for it. Though Peter is not going to run out of spells anytime soon. He's missing a land drop. I mean, he's going to play the Wildfield Scarecrow here instead of playing a land. But he still has Grafmole or Play Green Vessel use it. So he's going to be fine here.
There's an Erdwall Illuminator for Sam, but no attack, so he has been thwarted at least temporarily.
No, the Wildfield Scarecrow does a pretty good job of shutting down attacks, and actually Peter's in a great shape here because he gets to play Grafmole and play the Vessel of Nascency here in the same turn if he'd like. Set up potentially using Altered Ego. Once again, we're seeing him have Wildfield Scarecrow, have Altered Ego, and not have an island.
Yeah, that is getting a little awkward for him. He's also splashing white, which is the reason why he doesn't have an island in the deck.
So Sam does get to pour over the pages here, which gets him a few more cards. And of note, now he gets to untap 2 lands, discard Blood Mad Vampire, Madness it, and next turn he's got Jace's Scrutiny, which will combine with Erdwall Illuminator to give him 2 clues. Since the first time you investigate, you get a second one.
And probably kill one of Peter's creatures in combat.
Potentially, because this Blood Mad Vampire is going to attack. And
wow.
The only downside for Sam is that if he attacks with Blood Mad Vampire and Peter blocks with Wildfield Scarecrow, you don't want to cast Jace's Scrutiny on the Scarecrow, because if you cast the Scrutiny and the Scarecrow gets sacrificed, the Scrutiny won't actually resolve. You won't get to investigate.
Excuse me. So Peter's planning out his turn here, and he's got some interesting synergies lined up potentially. He can crack this Vessel, but you also see that he's got a Groundskeeper on the battlefield as well, so he may be incentivized to take, say, a creature from that pile, put any lands down.
Say a good creature.
Hello.
And put some lands in.
Right, so this is working out quite nicely for him, including his splash color and his second black mana source. He's got a swamp that he can play in his hand, too, to get that Tormentor down next turn.
Yeah, and he gets to play swamp, use Groundkeeper to get back other swamp, next turn play Tormentor.
Yeah, and he can leave up the Wildfield Scarecrow activation here as well in case something pops up in combat, how you described earlier. And that's going to work out pretty well for him.
And that Byway Courier also just keeps getting in there.
Yeah, it does. You can see Sam is down to 11 life. Village Messenger does transform here, though. It looks like it's past the stage of the game where that's something super impactful, though it's never terrible.
Well, it does have Menace, so
yeah.
it could attack potentially if that Wildfield Scarecrow ends up jumping this turn or getting sacrificed this turn.
The tough part is just Peter sitting at 17 life. He's got a lot of life total to play with. All right, another pour from the pages for Sam Black.
This is looking pretty good here, especially since he has ongoing investigation. if he combines that with Erdwall Illuminator, he has access to just a steady stream of cards. Because looks like he's gonna play the ongoing investigation, and this means every time one of his creatures deals combat damage to a player, he gets to investigate, or at least if any do, he gets to investigate. And so now the Erdwall Illuminator attacks, hits for 1, double investigates because of the Illuminator's text. So this is the perfect combo.
Yeah, it just gives him that super long game. Did you notice if Sam had the green mana for ongoing investigation?
He did not have a green source,
Okay.
so he's unable to activate the second part of ongoing investigation, which is exiling creature.
But as
to gain
long as
2
he
life.
kees that Illuminator around.
Yeah, he's not going to
He
run out of
needs it.
clues. The
Yeah.
life could be useful. And Groundskeeper doing some work, getting back a swamp here at the end of turn.
Yep. Byway Courier once again hits the red zone. That was 2 spells for Sam Black also, so you see that Village Messenger has transformed.
I think Sam has to block this turn in order to play it safe, because Elusive Tormentor,
This is a big
besides
problem.
being a great card, this can flip into Insidious Mist, which is unblockable, and so then you attack with Insidious Mist and flip it back into Tormentor, so it's unblockable 4 points of damage. So Sam is playing a little bit dangerously by doing that. I mean,
he's going to be dead in 2 turns.
Yeah, he has Jace's Scrutiny, so he can buy himself a turn,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still going to be tough to manage here. Sam keeping up 2 mana in order to cast Jace's Scrutiny or sacrifice a clue.
You can see the Groundskeeper once again getting work. He's drawn 2 extra lands off it. There's an Epitaph Golem. Wow, so this is actually really cool. Both decks are kind of doing what they were designed to do here. We just get to see which one can pull out the victory.
Yeah, and Sam is pulling ahead on cards rapidly. He's drawing in quotes because he has to sack the clues, but he's getting 2 clues a turn here, and he's going to get 2 if he casts Jace's Scrutiny. So he's going to have tons of extra cards in the bank, but right now Peter is ahead on life total.
Yeah, you do need a decent amount of time to capitalize on those clues, and if Sam's able to buy himself that much time, well, that's also time that Peter gets to use to get his engines going. Epitaph Golem.
Peter really feeling the lack of an island, both this match and last match. Having an island in his deck to get with Wildfield Scarecrow would have been huge both these games.
For sure.
Also, if Peter can get clues, the Graph Mole, remember, does give him 3 life every time he sacrifices a clue. So if Peter is able to get a clue off Byway Courier, then that extra 3 life could be useful.
Yeah.
Another funny interaction is if you turn into Insidious Mist and then you play that Altered Ego as an Insidious Mist with a bunch of +1 counters on it, that's a beating.
Stays, yeah.
You end up with like a 3/4 or 4/5 hexproof unblockable.
Yep, and it stays that way too. It's great. So a big turn here for Peter. He's looking over his options.
Yeah, he's not at the point where Epitaph Golem is really going to provide a ton of value because he's just so many cards in his deck.
Yeah, 22 left.
Seems like the best way to start combating or beating Sam on life totals or continue to press that advantage is to discard a card to transform this and the Elusive Tormentor, attack with Insidious Mist and flip it back. But that takes 4 mana total, which means Peter has no other plays. And he has to really worry about this Pyre Hound because, if he does that, Sam casts that Jace's Scrutiny, Pyre Hound becomes a 3/4. Next turn, Sam can attack with Pyre Hound and Erdwall Illuminator and have, Geist Blast at the very least up to make Hound a 4/5 plus deal 2 to something. So it's getting to the point where Peter could lose that race even though he is ahead right now.
Now, the interesting thing is, so let's say that Peter has sussed this out as well and says, well, I'm taking on a decent amount of risk by committing to the plan with the Elusive Tormentor. What happens if he doesn't? Like, does that benefit him? Is that okay for him?
The problem is if he doesn't, his other play is just an Epitaph Golem. It's a 3/5 with essentially no relevant text right now.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't really... I mean, it does hold back the Pyre Hound potentially. 5 toughness is quite a bit. But anyway, he's going for it, which I like here, actually.
I think that's his best path to victory.
Yeah, he's taking some risk on, but I agree with you. And especially if Sam just doesn't have anything here, which, to be fair to him, there's a lot of cards in blue-red here that do matter. You could see anything from Adjust the Wind to this as Jace's Scrutiny.
So Peter can transform back
Deterrence.
with the Tormentor, which will counter the Jace's Scrutiny because of hexproof.
Mm.
But so Sam won't be able to investigate. But Sam getting his 5th and 6th clues is not a big deal, and it will accomplish what Sam wanted to accomplish, which he's not going to take damage this turn. Because
and Peter
can
probably should
once
do that.
again change back.
Yeah, it means that his Elusive Tormentor is not open to removal on Sam's turn or being interacted with if he does it. He does have to get rid of a card here, but it seems like the Tormentor is much more important.
It looks like he's actually discarding the Altered Ego.
He's had enough of it.
Yeah, he doesn't have to look at it anymore.
So guaranteed choked estuary off the top.
Oh, wow. Rush of Adrenaline is a great draw here. That's amazing because Sam is a mana short of going Rush of Adrenaline, Geist Blast, plus copy Rush of Adrenaline, which is a nice little sequence. But
Pyrehound.
But even then, being able to cast 2 spells to make Pyrehound a 5/6 naturally, plus you get to distribute the Rush of Adrenaline somewhere, and the Geist Blast gets to take out a creature. Sam's got a good attacker. He could potentially attack with more than just Illuminator and Pyrehound, like the Bloodmad Vampire, for example.
Sam's at 8 life.
And Sam is going to go to 4 next turn off of the Elusive Tormentor.
Yeah, that is certainly the key card on the battlefield right now because Sam knows that that's creating a clock that he has to try to beat. It's starting to look like he has the tools to do just that.
I think he does. Sam, the funny thing is, ongoing investigation might actually not be relevant at all this game. Well, I mean, there's a chance he just never has
yet,
time.
Right?
Like, despite being in a lot of ways a tempo deck, Sam does not have the time to actually investigate all the clues.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Most tempo decks are looking to use up all their mana every turn to keep your creatures out of the way with enough time to kill you. All right, huge block here from Peter.
Yeah, he's just throwing everything in place. So is this going to work out well for Sam? Yes, it is. Because Sam could, it's a 3/4. If Sam casts Geist Blast, killing the Byway Courier, it becomes a 4/5. It already survives and takes out the Graph Mole. I guess you don't even need to cast the Rush of Adrenaline because adding 3 more points, 2 from the Rush and 1 from a counter, isn't going to change what it does. So if you just cast the Rush, though, it is 6 toughness, and that's not going to be enough to survive. So I think we're just going to see a Geist Blast, but it looks like Sam's actually he's got Rush on the Groundskeeper because that got blocked by Blood Mad because it got blocked by 1.
Yep.
Yeah, that actually works out perfectly. And then you Geist Blast the Byway Courier, and you end up putting a bunch of creatures into your opponent's graveyard, and your creatures survive, and you get a bunch of damage through.
Yeah, he's also put both of his creatures above 3 power now. Because one of the cards Sam's going to be thinking about looking at a white and a green mana up.
Puncturing
Light. Yeah, and so now he knows that the coast is clear to just kind of go off. There's a clue. So
Peter does get to sacrifice the clue from the courier now to draw a card or to gain life off the Graph Mole.
But still, Sam with a massive attack here.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
It did a bunch of damage. It got Sam 2 more clues, which he actually might sacrifice this turn instead of playing the Neonate. And he also got a +1 counter on Bloodmad Vampire because it did trample over for damage, and it got 2 +1 counters on the Pyrehound because he played 2 spells. So, yeah, that was a huge shift for Sam. He does have to erase that.
I think he may need to play the Neonate here. Because if you look, if the Bloodmad Vampire gets... So let's just say that Peter's job is to attack with the Mist, transform it, pass. He chump blocks the Bloodmad Vampire. He takes 5 from the Hound, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage, plus any number of anythings. Looks like he's just going to crack the clue, though. What was it? What did he draw? Gross Masterpiece?
Gross Masterpiece, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The other reason to crack the clue for Sam is if he draws a mountain, he can just go play a mountain and he gets to have the best of both worlds.
He still had his land drop, yep.
Note that the choked estuary was the actual draw. So
was it really?
Altered Ego.
Called it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, right now, can Sam deal 12? Let's see. Wildfield Scarecrow blocks Pyrehound, and Peter takes 1. Bloodman Vampire gets chumped by Loam Dryad. Right now, Sam doesn't have lethal out.
No, he does not. How short is he?
He's not that far away, but he's going to get to see a bunch of cards on the way there.
Tormenting Voice is going to get another counter on the Pyrehound and let him see cards, and he still has clues.
Basically, Sam needs to await a removal blocker here, if he can find that.
He did not.
Don't know.
He's got more shots at it though, thanks to the clues.
Because right
now, also could play the Neonate. And
right now, Sam's dealing
that.
6, putting Peter to 6, assuming the 1/4 blocks the 6/7 Hound and the Loam Dryad chumps the Blood Mad. So,
but that has him dead.
Actually,
right?
1 bounce spell is not quite enough. Because 1 bounce spell, you still get to block the Blood Mad Vampire with whatever is left, and then you take 10 plus 1 off the Pyrehound getting bigger is 11. So Sam actually looks like he's going to lose to this Elusive Tormentor unless he can find something on his last Neonate draw.
Would it have been different if he played the Neonate last turn? Like, is he 1 point away here?
No, because he would have to find a bounce spell, then he'd be a point away. So,
Right.
and if he had played the Neonate, he would be one card less deep into his library because he
Right.
did not sacrifice the Clue.
Huh. This is close.
It's very close, and
The Tormentor is just, it has this big spotlight on it here.
it is living up to its name. Peter's like throwing away tons of cards. He's not even close to winning the game in any other way, except he's just got this 4/4 unblockable hexproof card here. What Sam can do potentially is if he finds a bounce spell and Peter taps low enough, like try to bounce the Tormentor to prevent Peter from killing him this turn. But again, because it can flip back. Actually, so if Sam does find a bounce spell, he
finds Just the Win,
let's say he finds Just the Win.
Mm-hmm.
So next turn, Peter goes, end of turn, flip Tormentor, attack, flip it back to a 4/4. Sam goes Just the Win. Peter can flip it back to an Insidious Mist, but it will still deal. Will not deal any damage because he doesn't get to then flip it back into a Tormentor. So Sam has got the top of his deck needs to be Just the Wind here.
Right. He's going to wait because he can use Insolent Neonate and Instant Speed, and he's left himself with just the 2 mana here. He has to find a bounce spell.
Grotesque Mutation doesn't actually change anything.
No, it doesn't.
Despite being a good card in this kind of
Yeah, if he was at
situation.
1 fewer life, it would be amazing for
Yeah.
him. But he is going to be forced here to transform his Insidious Mist. Here we go. This is the big moment for this game.
This situation is why I wanted Sam to not take the bye recurve from 11 to 8, though. That's just like an additional turn. Though, as it turns out, Grotesque Mutation being the draw may have made that irrelevant. And that's an Aberrant Researcher.
Yeah, he doesn't find it, and Peter wins the game. Wow, what a sweet game.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was a fun one. And by the way, I have to note, Sam Black, 6 clues on the battlefield there. That Tormentor was amazing for Peter.
Yeah,
Sam had,
Sam
inevitability.
Sam was definitely ahead on cards, but Peter was ahead on tempo there.
Wow. Great stuff. Players are going to go to their sideboards, and you can see them boarding here. I'm really curious to see what Peter does post-board.
Yeah,
He got a really good look at what Sam's doing, and this is a known archetype in the format, what Sam's up to.
Peter has more room to sideboard here. Sam, his deck is pretty aggressive, and I don't expect that to change. I mean, that's what his cards really are leaning towards. Whereas Peter can do stuff like, I would be surprised if he takes out that Altered Ego. He could potentially even also take out the Angelic Perch, just have no splashes, and then just play straight black-green. I think he is going to continue splashing the Angelic Purge because that card is just a very good one, and he does have the fixing, but you want to make your deck as low curve as possible against Fevered Visions, and that sometimes involves taking out expensive off-color cards.
Yeah, would not be surprised to see the Altered Ego go away. Especially just since we happen to have seen Peter play a few of his games here, and he has had a hard time getting that thing on the battlefield. I don't know that that's necessarily representative of his average case, but it does kind of stick in your head when you just keep staring at that thing.
It is funny that Peter having the experience of having an uncastable Altered Ego in his hand a bunch of games does make him less likely to want in his deck, whether or not that's the typical case or not. Yeah. So he is in some cases being results oriented, but also I think that not having an island to get with Scarecrow has come up enough times that I could see either wanting to add an island or wanting to cut the ego, one of the two.
Yeah, so what he's done is he's taken out the Altered Ego and the Weirding Wood so far, and it looks like he's doing, what I think you should do, which is he's trying to trim this down to something where he can curve out better, maybe even, one thing that can be pretty good is Sam Black's creatures are pretty fragile, and if you can get out to a quick start against Sam, you can try to race him as well. Peter's deck not particularly well suited to do that, so he's going to have to make some major changes, though. So we'll see.
No, Peter is up a game, so that's a good position to be in.
Totally.
Because if you're up a game, you're more likely to win the match. That's one of the keys.
Is that a key?
To winning matches is be up a game.
That's definitely the skeleton key. This does not look like a good opener for Sam Black here. No creatures in hand.
No, an Ongoing Investigation, a great card, but not when you have no creatures.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sam wants to mulligan this hand. It's so hard to mulligan a hand in Limited that has just like 2 good spells in it and even all lands, but especially with one of them being a removal spell. But given the fact that Ongoing Investigation is not a spell that does much with other creatures, I could see him wanting to ship it.
No, he's kept it.
And
This
so
is risky.
a reason to keep this, by the way, is one creature lets you. Ongoing Investigation is the kind of card that gets you back into it with the draw of one creature.
No, he found a creature, though I'll say that's not one of the better ones. Blood Mad Vampire, pretty fragile.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Had Peter played turn 1 Loam Dryad, he would have been able to play turn 2 Groundskeeper and Vessel, he wouldn't have been able to crack the Vessel, though. So he played the turn 1 Vessel with the intention of cracking it on turn 2, but it's possible this turn he just goes Loam Dryad, Groundskeeper.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's also really good against what Sam's doing, because Sam certainly could see a scenario where he finds a target for Geist Blast and lets his Bloodman Vampire get in for that really critical first hit. That would get him a clue, as well as start to grow the Vampire. But I don't think that's going to work out for Sam this time, because there's actually going to be 2 blockers here.
Right, the plan of Geist Blast your blocker, a little less good when there's 2 1-drops sitting in play. And like you mentioned, Bloodman Vampire is not the card that gets in for damage all that often, because it already has a built-in reward if you do, so your opponent already has an incentive to stop it. And look at this.
Yeah,
Peter's throwing just tons of creatures into the way.
Okay, Pour Over the Pages does give Sam Black something to look forward to next turn. And he could decide whether he wants to or not use his Geist Blast. But yeah, it doesn't look like this Vampire's getting in, and the Ongoing Investigation looks pretty bad here. It's doing nothing.
Yeah, it hasn't started ongoing. It is an unstarted investigation, and so it's going to be tough for Sam. Like when you keep a hand with so few spells, and then one of them doesn't do anything, then you end up being in quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, and this was the risk that Sam took, but he does have, he finds an Airdwall Illuminator, and all of a sudden this draw looks great.
Sam getting the Groundskeeper out of the way now because he's afraid of the Vessel being cracked and the Groundskeeper drawing Peter a bunch of extra cards, but Peter not super worried about that.
No.
Peter does have the option of playing Epitaph Golem here, but he would have to tap his Dryad and his Wildfield Scarecrow. That seems a little risky, because what if Sam just goes just the Wind or Stitched Mangle your Golem, attack with the Blood Mad Vampire, get a clue, get a +1/+1 counter. So
yeah, that just gives me the shivers.
Yeah, I kind of like main deck or main phase just cracking the Vessel of Nascency.
Yeah, you're gonna do
just
it anyway.
Seeing what options you have. Maybe you'll find like a 2-drop or a 3-drop.
Yeah, I like that line a lot. And there it goes. Vessel's going to hit the bin. Let's see what he hit with it. Crawling Sensation, Explosive Apparatus, Angelic Purge, and a Swamp.
Kind of like taking the Crawling Sensation here. Explosive Apparatus is reasonable because it does deal with the Blood Mad Vampire, but you kind of already have that on lockdown.
Yeah, that is what he took here as well. At least you can see it in his hand now.
Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Senseless Rage.
Okay.
So Sam can go Pour Over the Pages, untap 2 lands, discard Senseless Rage, put it on my Blood Mad Vampire, and get a good attack in.
Yeah, force a chump block here.
Yeah, chump blocking with Wildfield and sacking it isn't the end of the world, but this does give Sam a good line this turn at least.
Yeah, that's a real creature that has to be dealt with. Also, it's the Blood Mad Vampire is going to be able to attack into the Epitaph Golem and force a trade there, even after this. Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Probably see like Swamp Plains or something here. So Peter's actually drawn a lot of land here.
He certainly has. Now he's got an Epitaph Golem that's set to, in his mind, hopefully trade.
Oh, so Sam sided in a forest in order to use Ongoing Investigation's green ability here, which
he still would have been useful. An Airdwall Illuminator, last game. This is going to prompt a trade. Interesting spot for Peter, though. He did see Rush of Adrenaline.
Yeah, I still think
he's going to go for the double block as a result here.
Well, the good thing about double block is if Sam doesn't have a trick, it still doesn't kill both.
Still just a single, yeah. So solid block there for Peter. Block. Yeah, I like that a lot. And now we're going to see Pyre Hound, or is that a Masterpiece? Yeah, oof.
Yeah, I like just playing a Masterpiece,
like
and then next turn you can hopefully play like land in a spell, maybe a second spell, and then it'll become much bigger. It'll be like 5/5 or 6/6.
Yeah, or heck, it's just going to start hitting, right? Ongoing Investigation is going to start really churning out a lot of cards here for Sam Black if that's the case. And that's a hopeful attack from Peter as he's drawn Grotesque Mutation for the turn, but Sam Black's having none of it. Crawling Sensation looks woefully slow in the face of this Messenger. And we're going to see land Pyre Hound attack for 5, make a clue.
Yeah, Sam's very far ahead now.
Yeah.
And Peter was looking great 5 turns ago, but Peter's drawn like a grotesque mutation in lands, and Sam's drawn Pour Over the Pages into a bunch of spells.
Mm-hmm. And he's finally got that investigation going now.
Yeah.
There's that first clue, and things start getting out of hand.
Then Crawling Sensation making a 1/1 here. Slayer's Plate plus Grotesque Mutation has
interesting.
Has a little bit of merit here.
It does feel like he's about a turn off pace here, though.
If not more.
Yeah. Slayer's Plate, very powerful card, but it does look pretty tough when your opponent's playing Stitch Manglers and Just the Winds and stuff like that. They can really tempo you out. The 3 to equip on Slayer's Plate is beastly. That is a lot of mana. But that was a big hit. He just crunched in there with Lone Dryad for 5. And there's a Stitch Mangler.
There we go. And when you say tempo you out, what specifically do you mean?
Do you want to take to Twitter for that question? Yeah, tempo, one of the more specific concepts for high-level Magic players for sure. And it has a lot of different definitions, but this is the definition that I lean on here is, look at this. A lot of mana spent by Peter Ye and Sam Black able... I just said Stitch Manglers and Just the Wind, and his next draws for Stitch Mangler and Just the Wind. Yeah, that Slayer's Plate is probably just in liability mode at this point. I wouldn't be surprised to see Just the Wind just take out this insect token.
It's gonna do some work for Sam.
Wow, he's not going to go for the mutation here too, is he?
Or for Peter, but Sam has all the answers, and Sam is definitely going to bounce this.
And I think he kind of had to, but he was dead otherwise. But yeah, that's going to be game.
So that will end it. Just the Wind, stopping the life gain from the Grotesque Mutation and sending the players to a game 3. A match dominated. Well, I guess this game was just like a race, fast attacks by Sam. The last game was Peter throwing up all his resources to get through that elusive Tormentor.
That's right. It's been a really cool match so far. I got to say, if I'm Peter and I just saw those 2-card sequences, I would take the Slayer's Plate out of my deck.
It's not looking good.
Yeah.
You're playing against a deck that has Stitched Mangler. It has Just the Wind. It likely has multiple copies. Even Jace's Scrutiny couldn't be annoying if you're counting on a combat happening. And if you pay 3 to equip, pay 3 to play it, pay 3 to equip, and then it gets bounced. Then you pay 3 to equip again, and it gets mangled.
You're dead.
Yeah, you've spent so much mana
you're
there.
Just dead.
You're just down so much tempo.
Yeah. Yeah. Another key from Luis there. But yeah, I would actually just look to take that card out. I do think it's very powerful, and it gives you inevitability in the late game if you have any creatures whatsoever. But that's not really the fight that Peter's fighting here against Sam Black. He needs to get the board stable, find a way to get in damage, and not let Sam get these engines online, which is exactly what Sam did.
Yeah, and again, Sam just kind of tweaking his deck. It looks like he might be going to the skies. It looks like a Nephalia Moondrakes. The 7-mana 5/5 flyer that when you play it gives a creature flying, and then you can exile it from your graveyard to give all your creatures flying.
For the turn, yeah.
Kind of interesting if you can discard it and then just send everything to the skies.
I've done that, and with Sam's list too, it seems particularly good. Again, those Blood Mad Vampires. Sometimes that you get a couple of those on the ground and they can't really attack. They don't block that often. But then just one activation from the Moondrakes, and all of a sudden you're getting in for 8 or 10 in the air, and that can just be the game.
Yeah. Really
I'm excited.
Really would like to see the Call the Bloodline in Peter's deck with Groundskeeper. I think that would be a very good combo. Also, it's good in a race game when you just having a bunch of 1/1 lifelinkers.
And you've seen multiple Blood Mad Vampires as well, that's just good against that. So I would love to see that card come in, especially for like the plate. Well, not a particularly cracking start here for Peter, but it looks like a keep there. He's got the Vessel, which always gives you hope.
Yeah.
And he's got a good chunk of mana there with the Dryad plus all of those lands. Now, what about for Sam Black?
Ooh, Sam mulliganed, but he has turn 2 Tormenting Voice, discard Jarl's Masterpiece.
Okay.
He could potentially bring it back on turn 4 and just be all in on Jarl's Masterpiece being a 7/7 flyer on turn 4. That sounds incredible to me.
That sounds sweet,
It's
but
a good way to win after
risky.
a mulligan. And he hasn't seen much from Peter that can stop that. Angelic Purge certainly fits into that category, but there aren't that many other things. And that's what Sam's thinking about now. Do I really do this? Am I really going for it?
Because he also could just use Fermenting Voice for value here and just work his way up towards a Masterpiece.
Right. He could just discard an island and then cast the Masterpiece on turn 5.
Yeah. Like, what's the difference? It's a 1-turn difference, right?
Yeah.
So but it is bigger. I mean, it applies massive pressure on turn 4.
You're trading 2 extra cards because You could just cast it, or you could discard 3 cards to cast it, but there's a 2-card difference there. So does Sam want to throw away 2 cards to get out a Masterpiece a turn earlier?
Yeah, but it's also a bigger Masterpiece a turn earlier. So yeah,
I lean towards just discarding the Masterpiece.
You like
here.
just going for it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were sitting in Sam's seat, would you really make that play, or is this just
so,
you wanting to see that happen?
No, I think that
it's legit correct.
Especially since, again, you're playing against Peter, and he hasn't shown you a ton of ways to interact with Jarl's Masterpiece. Sam did discard the islands.
Mm-hmm. You decided to play a little more conservatively, and I think maybe part of that is looking at the board here. Sam's thinking, well, it's not like I have to race Peter here, right? It's not like, well, if I don't do this, then I'm just going to lose to the board. He's facing down 1 power at the time. Now he's facing down 2 power total. Looks like the Mangler's going to keep the Dryad at bay. That's going to prompt Peter, who still has Griffspoon in his list here. Interesting. Pete.
Well, he sided it in, I believe.
Yeah, he wants to race, and there's Slayer's Plate in the graveyard.
And now in the hand.
And now in the hand. Sorry, not graveyard, in the reveal zone, and now in the hand.
It's exactly how Marshall drew it up.
This is not how I drew it up, yes. But you know what? It looks pretty decent here, right? He's got a couple of, little 1-drops that'll pick up that plate nicely. Unfortunately for him, depending on how Sam plays, he does have a Geist Blast that could interfere, though. With that draw step from Sam, it looks like he's not incentivized to leave up Geist Blast, as Peter can play around it by just not equipping this turn, so he's going to play out the Aberrant Researcher instead.
So had Sam not drawn Aberrant Researcher, I would have been much happier if he had discarded the Masterpiece to Tormenting Voice, because that would have been his 4-drop. But because he drew a 4-drop, this is actually going to work out pretty well.
And what would his hand look like right now if that were the case?
He would have an Aberrant 2 lands, the 2 spells he has plus the Researcher he drew. So he would discard like Geist Blast and 2 lands maybe.
Okay.
But this worked out pretty well for Sam.
Well, lots of good mana use here for Peter. Wow, look at that. Equip Slayer's Plate, attack, and then even follow up with a 2-drop Moldgraph Scavenger. And Peter's really firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, and Sam's going to play the Jarl's Masterpiece here as a 4/4 flyer.
He milled an Airwall Illuminator.
And then he drew 4 other pages. He would have wished they were in the other order.
Mm-hmm.
Gitrog Monster, wow.
Jeez. Well, this is definitely how Peter drew it up, I'll tell you that. This looks fantastic for him.
And he's only 1 card type away from Delirium here.
Yes.
So he's going to be able, if he plays the Grotesque Mutation, to have Delirium. Yeah, I
can have a huge attack here.
So if he attacks with the 5/4, presumably the Loam Dread, if it gets blocked by Jarl's Masterpiece, and then you just take the 0-power creature and the 1-power creature, and then Grotesque Mutation can happen. It looks like Sam is just chumping here.
Yeah, he's just going to chump. He doesn't want to get wrecked by combat tricks.
Peter's at 15. See, it's tough for Peter because you really want to cast Grotesque Mutation when Sam's tapped out. But yeah, I would definitely just slam the Frog.
I agree, yeah.
So
guy's a legend.
So
a Stitch Mangler, an island gets milled from the upkeep ability from Aberrant Researcher here, which of course does not transform it.
Sam's hand is actually not really where he wants to be because he's got 2 card draw spells in it, which is this is not the time for those. As loath as I am to admit it, he needs to find cards that affect the board.
Well, it's really tough here, right? Because he had a 2-turn clock there, but unfortunately he was dead on board as well. So he needs to find a way. It looks like he's found a Blood Mad Vampire to madness out here.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's
he
what
won't
he
be able
wants.
to keep Geist Blast up, but I think madnessing out Blood Mad Vampire is fine. Sam is in a lot of trouble here.
He's in big trouble.
Like, the thing is,
he can attack for 6 in the air.
Even if Sam chump blocks,
take 9, take 10, go to 1 probably, and then he's actually just dead.
Yeah, Sam. Even if he chump blocks the Gitrog Monster, the Grotesque Mutation will finish him off.
Exactly.
And if Peter draws a Plains to play Griffspoon, that makes it even worse.
Right.
Even if he doesn't, Sam is in a position where he's not going to do well by trying to keep his creatures back. He's going to lose this game in the long game because Gitrog Monster just adds too much power to the board. Sam actually deciding to discard a different card so he can play the Blood Mad Vampire, so his Jarl's Masterpiece will be larger.
Just an extra +1/+1. I think he's assuming that lets it either trade for the Loam Dryad or rumble with the Moldgraph Scavenger a little better.
So,
Yeah, not a great position here for Sam Black.
and if he's leaving back either of his flyers, then it's just going to be really hard. I think his best chance to win involves attacking with both, and then just knowing that he's dead to a number of different cards.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get too, because he can empty out his hand pretty well next turn, including a Geist Blast for 2 additional damage and maybe get in for lethal. Let's just assume from Sam's perspective that Peter has nothing left in his hand. You know, he can block with the Airdwall Illuminator. He would take 5, 6 damage. Maybe there's, something that gets the Mulgraf Scavenger up, and then even then he's still alive.
Right. Even if Peter had a way to make Mulgraf Scavenger a 3/4, Sam would take 9 damage going to 2. As it turns out, Grotesque Mutation does an additional 3 there, but I don't know if Sam has the luxury of playing around that. So I like this play.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, Sam's going to lose,
yes,
but I think that he made the correct play here.
I do too. I think this is definitely the right line of play from Sam Black. But like you said, way too much power. The thing that's impressive about what Peter's done is all of his creatures are just bigger at this point than what Sam's putting out. And that's all he needs.
Yeah, Slayer's played MVP.
It looks very good here.
He didn't. Sam did not draw any of the cards that punished Slayer's played. So our assertion was not that Slayer's played is a bad card. It's that it has some bad matchups.
Yeah,
and it turned out none of those matchups came up here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was one opening for Sam to leave up Geist Blast, but it didn't make any sense to do so. And so, Peter decided to turn his Loam Dryad into this huge monster, and it's going to win him the game here.
Yeah, I wonder how it would have worked out if Sam had turned 4 Gerolf's Masterpiece. As it turns out, he has a bunch of extra cards in his hand that haven't done much. Peter might still win off Grotesque Mutation, but my inclination would have been to go for the 6/6/7/7 on turn 4.
Fascinating stuff. Really cool match between those players, and it is going to be Peter Yate that takes down that one, as Sam consults Twitter or something like that. All right, welcome back to the booth here at the Magic Online Championship. Red Zone time. Kenji, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, welcome back to the Red Zone. Kenji here. I have a match between Jerry Thompson and Niels Norlander. Both are 5-3, just like the previous opponents you saw. Let's go down to the match. This one is going to be a little bit of a throwback to the Theros format, and by that I mean pants. Let's see, the Obsessive Skinner getting in there, Ember Eye for Niels. Jerry on the bottom here with the green-white Humans deck. Niels on the top with red-green Werewolves, although it is actually Jerry, the one that has the werewolf, and immediately transforms his Solitary Hunter into one of the pack, and that is going to be a lot of damage coming into Niels' side of the table. And Niels falls down to 7, and actually, that's the end of the game. Turn 5, Jerry Thompson defeats Niels Norlander in the very first game. If we go to game 2...
I was promised pants.
You'll see pants very shortly, Marshall.
Oh.
Neglected Heirloom from Jerry Thompson, followed by Moorland Drifter. Niels has an Ulrich's Kindred, but an Obsessive Skinner, and then the equip onto the Moorland Drifter is going to make it a 4/4 attacking through the Kindred. But it's Niels who's going to go on the offensive here, attacking with the Kindred and playing an Intrepid Provisioner. Jerry Thompson happy to attack in with his 4/4, play a Thraben Gargoyle and equip it up. But Niels getting back into the red zone. A double block on the Intrepid Provisioner. Let's see if Niels can do anything. Nope, he's just going to offer the trade and follow up with the Thornhide Wolves, rather. Just passing the turn, Rabid Bite, targeting Thornhide Wolves, and the Moorland Drifter is going to mean the Drifter hits the graveyard, and a 4/5 is battling in. Jerry getting a little bit aggressive here, attacking with his 2/2 and playing a Cathar's Companion, equipping it up, but Moonlight Hunt, end of turn, and an Uncaged Fury is going to double strike for at least 10 damage. That means Niels is going to win the second game over Jerry Thompson, and we move to a Game 3. Game 3. Here are the pants that you were looking for, Marshall.
Okay.
Turn 2, Obsessive Skinner for Jerry Thompson. Turn 3, Hope Against Hope. Okay, it's a start. +1/+1. Convicted Killer on Niels' side, but Rabid Bite instantly takes care of that, and another bash in for 3. Niels already on 14. Turn 4. What is this? Equestrian Skill. That is the 6/6 first strike trample Obsessive Skinner. And Ulrich's Kindred can do nothing but sit back.
How does green-red beat that?
They don't?
They don't, right?
Thornhide Wolves, the follow-up from Jerry, and Niels just scoops the game facing down 2 huge creatures. Jerry Thompson takes that match 2-1 over Niels Norlander. Let's go back to the booth.
Wow, thank you, Kenji. That definitely delivered. All right, we've got one more match that's still running here, so why don't we check this out? We've got Alexander Ivanov. He's playing against Jonathan Angelescu, and as we join in here, let me take a look at our standings. It looks like... Well, I actually don't know which game we're in. I'm assuming game 3, though, just given the late stage of the round here. So we'll tune in and see what's going on. Let's see, Twins of Mauer State plus an Asylum Visitor wearing a Senseless Rage, facing down a pair of zombies, which I'm assuming are from Geese's Bidding. Oh no, from under the floorboards.
The floorboards.
Remnant, yeah. Well, this is a nice attack here from Alexander.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's,
Yeah. Well, and good timing.
That,
All right.
that was a good live looking.
Yeah.
Wasn't live for very long.
It
but
was not. But yeah, so that'll do it, and that was in fact the last match outstanding here in round number 9. So yeah, that's going to do it for round 9 coverage here from the Magic Online Championship.